being City Council Work Session, August 8th, 2023, 3:01 PM. Invocation will be given to us by Councilmember Vasquez. Anybody wishing to join us can do so by standing up. Join us for a moment of prayer. Council?
Please join us for a moment of prayer. Father God, we are thankful for life. We're thankful for the opportunity to be servants as city council, as mayor. Father God, we ask for your guidance and wisdom as we make decisions that affect and impact our daily lives, not only for ourselves, but for all community citizens of Odessa, Texas. Father God, we ask that you will give us guidance and wisdom to make the right decisions that will eventually take care of all future citizens of Odessa. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated.
Beautiful.
We're going to go on. Okay. We're going forward with the agenda on this one. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on to item 3 with Sci-Fi project update. Dennis? Would you please just, both of you, introduce yourself
Yes, so-
for the record?
Absolutely, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I'm Sean Parker. I'm the Head of Government Affairs for Sci-Fi Networks, and my colleague, Dennis McClintock.
Hi, I'm Dennis McClintock. I'm the area manager for Texas and be handling all the construction and everything here.
So we're going to kind of do a project overview for a moment because there are some new faces on council since last time I presented. And so then we'll go into where we're at with the project and then open it up for any questions. Of course, though, feel free to ask questions anytime through our presentation, but at the end, we'll certainly pause and hopefully there'll be a few good questions at that point too.
Okay, go ahead.
Odessa Fiber City, the highlights. What we are going to build here in Odessa is a fiber to the home network, a next generation network that's going to be open access. And when we say open access, that means that you have one infrastructure that'll be shared by multiple providers, right? Instead of the traditional method, which is you build it and you have one provider on there. They call that a closed network. So this is an open network. Multiple providers can be on there. So it creates a natural competition between the providers, but they're also providing the best, the absolute best in quality because it's a state-of-the-art network, right? So it's none of the older cable or whatever. It's fiber optics, which is the gold standard in all telecommunications and will be for the foreseeable future. We are doing this on our own dime, so there's no dollars that the taxpayers have to pay. So that's an enormous benefit to the community. Beyond that, we have this network will be able to be a platform for all the future smart city IoT that you can imagine, things that haven't even been cooked up yet, right? But this thing will be around for generations. So that you can capture all those new technologies, and you don't have to just do them in one area of the community that has fiber. You can have fiber throughout the community, so you'll be able to roll any sort of smart city projects throughout the entirety of the community, and not just a certain area. Aside from that, we are, as we discussed in the last time I presented, we are going to prioritize certain areas of the community. So those areas that are underserved, right, we're going to be targeting them at first. As long as we can get hut locations in the right places and agreed to by the city, we'll be able to start building out from those areas, and those underserved areas is one of our goals. Aside from that, we also offer a couple different programs that also help bridge what we call the digital divide in this country. One of which is our Fiber City Aid program, which is we'll target about 10% of the community. The city will have to tell us what addresses they would like to be serviced by that project, but basically they would get a discounted gigabit service to their home, right around $30 a month through one of our service providers. We provide a discounted wholesale price to those ISPs, and then they therefore then turn that savings over to those in need, if you will. And so that's one thing that Sci-Fi does, and that's completely out of our pocket. There's a lot of, dollars out there federally and such, but this is a private subsidy, right? So we believe keeping those dollars local and letting the city determine where those discounts should be applied. We think you guys do a whole lot better job than the state or the federal government on where those dollars should be applied. You know your community best. So we provide that service. We also have a digital inclusion program which focuses on education, so digital literacy, and cybersecurity. So we work through the library systems typically for that program. This is a new one since last time I presented to you guys. So this is one that is close to me, and we tried to champion this throughout all of our cities. We'll also do a donation of computers through the library system as well. So, and they kind of determine the direction of where those sort of dollars should be applied to, and what type of technologies are relevant for that, for the city, for the library system and such. So, anyways, that's kind of a high level look at what we do. And again, it is a private investment of north of $100 million that will be going into this network, into the Odessa Fiber City is what we call it. And with that, I'll let Dennis speak about what milestones we've already completed and the milestones that we still need to achieve. Dennis?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I think we were asked to come and discuss how much construction we've started. So we have not yet started construction. So there's a lot that goes into the cities as you begin, as far as design. We look at all your bridges and highways. We look at the neighborhoods. We verify addresses. We have chosen HUT locations, which is where we house all of our data and our equipment. We've signed dark fiber agreements with companies. We've done some high-level reviews, and so we're just kind of going down the line where we're really identifying all our construction partners, who's going to work in your city, whether or not they've worked here before, what kind of license insurance they hold, things like that. And then we're working with multiple ISPs, trying to get them on board to see who's going to join the network as part of our team, because we're developing a long-term partnership with the city. So we kind of vet our ISPs and everybody who joins our networks.
Quick question.
Yes.
Signed dark fiber agreement, what does that mean?
The dark fiber is kind of how we bridge the gap, and we transfer data back and forth to like our main data centers. And so we have to have dark fiber whenever we need connectivity through different areas. Some areas we don't drill in those areas, and so we still need fiber to connect in certain areas.
So it actually is something real, something tangible.
Yes, it's
Okay.
part of our network. Yes,
Or
sir.
in today's age, man, so you put something dark and fiber in conspiracy theory.
Yes.
My only question is, we're a society of acronyms, ISP.
Oh, internet service providers, I'm sorry.
No, well, you may have mentioned it earlier, but I didn't hear it. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we do like our acronyms, especially in telecommunications, and I do apologize.
We Texans are the worst.
Yeah, as soon as I started with the company, everything they'd say I'd look up or write down, so I understand.
So what happens to like AT&T's all over town throwing in their fiber optic? Will people have a choice to get off of that or
Yes.
onto this new one, or how does that work?
Yeah, so, they, AT&T has their own offering. AT&T could jump onto this network if they really wanted to. I don't believe that they will, but if they wanted to, they could. But no, customers will ultimately win. They'll have the choice to go with the AT&T product or to go with one of the many carriers that will be on the Fiber City, right? Either one, they have that choice.
Yeah.
Next slide. So things that you're gonna, okay.
So yeah, we're engineering our final design for the city, and we work with multiple different companies who do our design work. And so eventually we'll work directly with your Public Works Department. We'll find out where you have new construction going on and your highways, where you newly paved and different things like that. So we're working on the final design. We're looking for kind of a single point of contact with the city someone we can work directly with. And then we'll start approving the hut and cabinet locations with you guys. We'll work directly with you to make sure we're going in the right locations, as per your city design, where it's most needed, things like that. And then we're working to finalize all our funding for starting the whole project and bring Fiber City here.
What is your timeline from start to finish,
Well,
if you decided?
we have an open agreement already where we're pretty certain we're gonna start before the end of that agreement. But right now, we can't give a actual date because there's so much that goes into it. We're
Okay.
just kind of working through the milestones.
But the actual construction of it and such, once we break ground, we're looking at 2 to 3 year marker for that, for completion of the network. Once we break ground. We go very quickly, we do a process, and this is something that we'll be working more with Public Works on, and we've already had it approved through Public Works. But micro trenching is how we do it, and it's a very fast, very efficient process that we use.
So for us, we already know what that means. We've
Yeah.
already gone to presentation for our council that's new. Can you explain real briefly what the micro trenching
Yeah,
basically is?
I'll do it as best I can, and I'll let the operations guy kind of jump in, because, I'm that GA guy that knows just enough to be dangerous.
That's what you said last time.
What, I'm sorry?
That's what you said last time.
Is that what I said last time? Anyway, so micro trenching, it's a very quick process. We go down, it's a big blade, and it cuts about a foot down in this particular case, and about 1.5 inch wide cut. We do it in the softscape when we can, roadways when that's not an option. But we can do probably about 1.5 miles a day when a crew is really, doing good. And so that's a lot faster than the traditional boring methods and such. And when you're talking about a citywide project like this, that's going everywhere, you have to have a fast, efficient process. And you don't want to put it up on the poles and stuff like that, because that's a lot of different issues there. We want to put it in the ground. And micro trenching is the technology that really provides that. Most of your big carriers these days are starting to do that, starting to use micro trenching. Sci-Fi has been probably the leader in the space to date, I would say. We're doing more of it across the country than anyone else. But I think some of your bigger carriers are getting more comfortable with that process, and the cities are getting more familiar with it, and it's being deployed a lot more across the nation, not just by us. But it's a very fast, very efficient process. You have probably about 13 people on any particular crew. You have like a tractor, basically, that pulls the jigsaw, basically, that cuts into the ground, right? And then you have another truck that kind of goes behind that, filling it up with the
Spoils and debris.
Yeah, there you go. And that backfills it, and then we come and we top coat it off, and when we're done, usually it's very tough to see that we were even there, or it blends in very naturally. Usually, that's the goal. If we're doing in the softscape, we would go and, plant soils there again, or put some sod down, cover that up, and have the grass regrow in those areas.
It'd
in
be
most cases.
either back a curb or back of a sidewalk or a gutter and asphalt. This is primarily the
Yeah.
3 points where you're going to penetrate.
That's correct.
That is correct, yeah, absolutely.
And our goal is kind of to get in, we just kind of run a train down the road. You have the cut that happens, you have the truck that picks up the debris, then you have the fill material, then you have fiber. It's all coming right down.
There was a point of discussion in the depth. We were discussing from 18 to 12 inches. Did we ever come up with an agreement?
I'd have to look back at the contract. I know that was discussed. Generally, we always go at 12 inches, and in certain situations, we can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
But the problem with going deeper is, one, it slows down the production, adds significant cost to the project
Yeah.
itself. For every inch you go down deeper, you float.
I
these
think we
blades
agreed on
faster.
12
Was
inches.
it 12 inches?
I think it was 12 too.
I think it was 12 with probably, a little bit deeper in certain areas that
Could
we
we
would
wind
work.
up, part of the discussion was the indemnity, basically where we weren't gonna be held responsible if you guys wind
Correct.
up cutting something. It wasn't just our line, but it was somebody else's.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
correct.
Yeah, we are held responsible for any of those sort of things at Sci-Fi.
Okay.
But yeah, that's exactly right, Mayor, that
It's
was
all
part
coming
of our
back.
agreement.
Slowly, but it's coming
Slowly,
back.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, I was like, yes, we did have to discuss that a good
Yeah,
bit.
okay.
And the only reason I remember the 12 inches was because AT&T was running an orange cable up a pole over there on East Ridge because they couldn't get across the alley because they're supposed to be at 18 inches. And so
That's
I-
where that's where.
And then we waived it so they could just go 12, they could go 12 and go across it, because there's a pipeline down there.
Okay, yeah.
It's right across a bunch of Chevron pipelines,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and you
But I
also,
remember that, so.
you also have to recognize different types of networks that are being built. When you're looking at a fiber to home citywide network, you have to have a cost-efficient way to do it, right? If you're doing backhaul to cell towers and things, they can go deeper, because they're not doing it everywhere throughout the community. They're doing, kind of a line of sight, straight shot there with fiber, so. But we find that 12 inches works very well in most communities, and we think you guys will be pleased with the results once we begin.
Yeah, a lot of areas we go just 8-inch cover is what we're looking to do, so 12 inches is a good.
Yeah, I think your public works
good
came
depth.
out, they did come out a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to Arlington. They saw some of the work that was being done out there, so.
And what's your determining factors for the underserved? Because I know you have mentioned in the past and today, those are gonna be the first area that's gonna be serviced.
Yeah, so that criteria really comes from the city. We don't have a criteria, we don't want to be the one saying who gets it, who doesn't, that discounted service. But that will come by the direction of you all, and so we can
Okay.
work with whatever social service agencies that you all happen to be working with, whichever ones have their finger on the pulse when it comes to that issue and that topic, so we can determine those areas. And so that, that is definitely something of big interest of ours to do.
And then
So-
one more question, just because I'm not sure on this. Being that your fiber optic line is gonna be available to multiple ISPs, will that slow it down? And is that why, like, a company like AT&T is doing their own fiber optics, so they won't have a slower service than, or?
No, it's a great question. Excellent question, actually. And it speaks to the nature of fiber optics, really. Fiber optics is unlimited in its speeds and its capacity, as far as we know today. And so it would not slow it down, having multiple carriers on there and all of that. It absolutely wouldn't.
Okay.
And in fact, today we can service fiber to a customer at 10 gig. And when it's a terabit speed in like 5 years, or however many years that'll be, that's the next up from the gig. We can just basically pull out a line card, which is back at a router somewhere, wherever those have been determined to be. And we just pull that out and put a new one in. And that's all it requires. We replace an ONT on the side of the house. So you get those faster speeds right off the go. So no major forklifting or anything like that with this type of technology. The real major investment is in the fiber optics that's in the ground. That's where 85% of all the cost of this network goes. The technology and all of that is a significantly smaller piece of that pie, but the major investment is that fiber optics.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that end of the presentation?
Yeah, we just had 3 slides to catch everybody up. So engineering, final design, single point of contact. So we would like to determine, and have on record who that single point or multiple contact people would be for the city. Because that's, right now we're getting into what we call kind of more of the critical phase. We do a lot of stuff on our own that we can do a lot of our analysis, figure a lot of things out. But now we are getting to a stage where we're gonna need more engagement by the city, working with Public Works fairly regularly, to determine a lot of, to resolve a lot of questions and answers that we have.
Okay, so on the engineering and finalizing design, is that gonna have to go to Public Works, planning and zoning, or just Public Works?
The final design? Well, it would usually get approved by Public Works.
Okay. So that'd be Tom Kerr,
Tom.
right?
He's back in the bank.
And then we also have a Smart Cities agreement, if the city's interested in
Well-
looking at that.
Well, basically, we want to discuss, hold on, real quick, a single point of contact. Council, you want to determine it be going to Tom, or Tom already has it, why don't we just put it on the interim city manager? And then determine,
Sure.
wind up where it needs to go through utilities or And let's just do that. It's always better to have more than just one point of contact. Smart city agreement?
So there's a smart cities agreement that's always an option for cities if they want to take that on. And I believe our head of smart cities has reached out a few times, but hasn't heard back yet from the city on that. That will be part of the design that we could build into it if the city's interested in. So currently now you probably take services from, one of the carriers. So we would want to work with the city to identify, if the city wants to do it, it's purely optional, identifying all those current demand points and future demand points. Future fire stations, future pump stations, all that, wherever the city's growing, we want to take that into account, so when we're building a network, we know where we need to be building.
I thought that was part of the pre-discussion, that was identified, that we were looking at points of contact of city buildings, also intersections, where we're going to go in with the smart cameras, things of that nature.
Yes.
Was that never discussed?
So it was discussed, but we didn't get any detail, right?
Okay.
As to where those locations need to be, where are the big, where are the projections taking the city? What areas of the city do we currently today not service or doesn't have good connectivity, but where do we need to build out to? Those are sort of the questions we need to be asking and trying to resolve on some level. And I'm assuming Public Works and such would know, they probably have a 5-10 year plan on where things are going to, there's future demand areas, right? And those are things that we want to account for in our overall
Downtown
design.
area is real bad. Yeah, I think.
Well, the
there
other
could be
thing was the
multiple-
cameras, we just bought a bunch of cameras for the police department that are working off of cell phones, if my memory serves me correctly, and one of the discussions we had was being the ability to change those from cell phones to online.
Yeah, and they would need to have that. They would want to
Yeah,
have
and
fiber
these
optics.
cameras are, Chief Gerke, I'm not asking him that question because I know it's his deal. So the cameras we bought that are working on cell phones now
Yes,
can be converted to the network
yes.
easily. That's
Absolutely.
what we discussed, right?
Absolutely, yes.
That's what I thought, sorry.
And then new cameras along that vein
Right.
are actually cheaper. Than if they're not LTE, if they're on fiber, they're actually cheaper.
Right.
Yeah, we did have a discussion with the officers probably a year plus ago, talking about some of the technologies and some of their needs there in the community and servicing the public. So, but we haven't really put a map together yet.
Okay.
And that'll be the direction of the director of the Smart Cities Group. We'll get in touch.
Okay, so we'll
Figure that
basically just go through the point of context. If I recall, we had talked about, the right-of-way fees and stuff like that. We were going to swap those out for having lines to be brought into some of our city buildings, intersections, things, and also the planning. It was all preliminary. I just didn't know. I guess it didn't go anywhere, but that's basically what was communicated to us.
Yeah,
And
so, and we can be flexible on certain aspects of things. I think we agreed to connection fees.
Yeah.
So very similar to how things have been set up in the past with utilities and such, whenever there's a line connection from the curb to the home and such, there is a fixed rate here in Texas that it goes to the PUC. I think we were similarly based, price-wise around that and some of our other markets. So whenever someone calls for a connection, then technically we would be then paying the city a fee on that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what the exact number is. I'd have to go back and look at the contract to see exactly what that number was.
Yeah, we'd have to pull it back up and look at it.
Yeah, but there's definitely fees that are associated with that for being access or having access to the right of way here in the city.
Right. I think you referenced Arlington when you were here last, and I think it was like $2 a
Yeah,
connection or whatever, so
yeah,
that's what my memory says.
yeah. I think it's I've got 2 young kids and my memory's not what it once was. So
Yeah, you were sleep deprived.
I basically was. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's what it is. That's what we're paying. But if the city wants to discuss maybe more of an in-kind sort of smart city arrangement, right, where we can figure out some sort of arrangement from that standpoint so that everybody stays whole on that instead of, in lieu of maybe fees, there'd be some sort of smart city agreement that we could probably put in play. That's possible. That would go through our director, though, that would have to discuss that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, is there anything else that we need to go ahead and clarify today? We got point of contact.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
So you guys are calling 811 before you do any digging or everything and having everything marked, so you do see the lines that are already there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we always do the dig safe stuff.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, no question.
I have a question too.
Yes, sir.
Within the city limits is your focus, of course, but do you have any expansion ideas? Let's drop the word West Odessa. Or something like that.
So today it would be only in the incorporated areas of Odessa. Now, if there's other areas that are brought into Odessa, then we want to take a look at those and bring them into the fold. As the city grows, we've always said we want to grow with the city. And so our initial funding is set up in a manner that, you know, takes care of the initial build. But then it becomes self-funded, right? At a certain point, it becomes profitable. And then we start looking at those other areas that we will be building out that only make sense to use.
How
So
does
it's sort
that,
of a logical progression in that development.
how does that work, Mayor? Mr. Cannell's question, West Odessa, I'm thinking you're talking past city limits?
Yes.
How does that work?
You want to talk about how, basically, how Odessa qualified for this project?
Oh, sure, yeah. So this is great because it's a good question. Not all cities qualify for this private investment. They have to meet certain criteria, right? One is a city that has been underserved from an ISP, internet service provider standpoint. That's pretty critical. One, what kind of fiber footprint already exists within the cities that we go to, and density level from, you know, homes and businesses. Like, what does the density look like? You know, is it miles per home or homes per mile, right? And so we have to look at all those variables, and once you crunch all those numbers, all these guys that we keep in back rooms to just crunch numbers all day, they tell us which cities meet our criteria, right? And certainly Odessa is one of those, and it's a Texas city, and, you know, we're excited about it, so.
So, Councilman Vasquez, to answer your question, there's two ways the county is going to get it. From what I understand, that ECISD's got their own deal going. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
And Ector County has their own deal going outside the city limits. So we're not going to be responsible for outside the city limits.
Okay.
We're just inside the city.
So at the same time, when this was coming in, we were asked to join a public utility utility. So basically is own another utility. Because we had the ARP funds, they wanted us to commit those. So, you know, we sat there with the ECSD and we went through the whole thing. One, the council needed to decide, do we want to own another utility? Two, there was a gentleman that wind up, that was brought to us for us to consider. We had a lot of discussions. And so basically, he had gained the contract for this entire area and primarily for both Midland and Ector County to be able to build out the broadband system.
Okay.
He was gonna use wire and he was gonna go over the utilities. So in that discussion, just to generalize it, because it's been a while, but wind up discussing is that he bid it out at a very low price. So let's say, for example, just round numbers, he bid it out about $150 a door is what he bid it out, that was gonna be the cost. Well, COVID hit and supply issues, demand issues, no supplies, cost, everything went up. So that cost almost doubled in reality. So he had the bid price and the real build out was this cost. Plus, when you go out to the south of the county, Ector County, things in West Odessa, you don't have uniformity. You don't have any type of regulation as far as right of way. You can see it on the map, but there's a map and there's reality. And so every time we didn't have right of way, you had to build around it. And so the cost continued to skyrocket. We were then asked for us to consider to offset that cost. But once again, we're taking tax dollars that qualify for the city to provide services outside of the city and not the city taxpayers. In this scenario, every connection they do to the house, because here's one of the questions that we asked. The connection is gonna go by the house, is the homeowner gonna be responsible from the trunk line to the house? No, they're taking that all the way from the trunk line to the house, to the connection in, on the wall, and then the service that they decide who they wanna be able to bring in, which is multiple carriers out there, Because all they're gonna do is provide, they're going to, own the truck, the transmission line, just like Encore does. They don't provide electricity. Wind up, the city gets paid for every of those connections, whether it be residential or commercial. And so we'll be able to get to a smart city, but the opposite, we're not paying. The money's coming in. And this is gonna be perpetual. Our agreement is for 90 years?
90 years and 30-year, it's 30-year increments.
Yeah. So the thing is it's some mailbox money that's going to be able to, it's gonna be generational.
You obviously see that he's teaching me what the three of us here, we're the
We sat through
newbies.
quite a few.
We sat through
Yeah,
them.
we sat through. Not that we're smart, it's just the thing is, the cobwebs are being kicked off and it's all coming back now.
So the
It's been a long
tie-in,
process.
so
It's been a
the
long
tie-in to the
process.
house is still gonna be dug?
Yeah.
Across
so
the
you
front
just do a
yards,
soft dig
backyards.
trench from the curb to the home, typically that's how it's done, just your standard method
Yeah.
that you see in any home today.
So I guess my question is, are we gonna be in the alleyways, or are we gonna be in the,
Well, and that's something we still have to kind of determine a little bit through Public Works. We're gonna be in the alleyways when it's appropriate, and when that's the preferred method by the city, right?
okay,
Instead of
so in
being
the
on soft
backyards
side.
of everybody's house is a sewer, water line, and a gas line, more than likely.
Yeah.
And now we have underground electricity, so you're dealing with 4 lines coming in the backyard.
Yeah, and that's nothing unusual. That's something that's pretty common, right? We're pretty good. We got ground penetrating radar. They kind of detects all of that. We do the 811 and they, Dennis can talk more about this. I don't want to steal Dennis's thunder.
Yeah, we also do, potholes, we kind of dig, check, make sure where we're digging at, we don't just get started and go in, so we're gonna check for all that once we
Somebody
do
else
the
costs for all that.
811 locates.
Well, we better not hit it at 12 inches,
Yeah.
And the thing is, remember,
Well,
we're indemnified from that.
Yeah, it's got a
That's
problem.
all, that's their responsibility, not ours.
yeah, that's one of the pluses of being at 12 inches. You stay above a lot of that critical
Supposed to be.
infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about it all the time. You still have to, you're still concerned with it certainly, because you never know when something might be a little rogue around you, right? Especially when it's gas lines, right? So you have to be extremely cautious with those sort of things and, do all the things that are appropriate in order to have a good build. But yeah, those are things that we see time and time again. We've got very skilled folks who are out there doing it every day and are quite good at their craft, so.
So you're gonna be with us, you're gonna be you're gonna be here in Odessa. You're gonna be
Well, I
operations,
live
or you're
in-
gonna be operations here?
Yes,
Okay.
all over Texas. I live in Dallas, but I'll be here with the contractors. I make sure that quality is number one. We're following all the processes. I stay in regular contact with the city personnel.
So when we have issues, you're the guy that we send the number to.
I'm the
He's-
one.
No, he's gonna be calling me, saying, Sean, you're gonna get over there.
Yeah,
No, hopefully
yeah,
that
but-
would never be the case, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the conduit for everything that you need, pretty much.
Okay.
You are using, if I remember correctly, we talked about using local contractors as much as possible.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And you'll actually have an office here?
Well, it depends on, sometimes the contractors set up offices and we'll office within their office. And so we try to do whatever is gonna be most efficient. But yeah, what the project's going on, I mean, this is a long-term partnership. And we said 30-year
Yeah.
agreement,
So I
so.
remember.
Yeah, and I mean, we handle for that length of the contract, we handle all the operations, the maintenance, every aspect of it, right? It's fully turnkey, right, from that point of view. So we will have, groups here on site to handle and manage those aspects.
Right.
Right, and so we'll also have ISPs that'll have brick and mortar shops here too, I would imagine, on some level, right? They'll have to be able to roll trucks for customer service aspect of things. And all that.
That's
So
what
there
I-
will be a lot of
customer service.
local presence and hiring local,
That's what I
whenever
forgot,
possible.
yeah.
Okay.
That's one reason I asked the question, because I remember something about, you gotta have your service crews here, so
Absolutely,
there's,
yeah, you have to have that, there's no question, because there's always gonna be a strike on one of those lines at some point. You go
Yeah.
out there and patch it, figure it out, and then whenever somebody calls for new service, well, the Fiber City people, the people who go out there and install that ONT on the side of the house, right?
Right.
And, so, anyway.
Oh, we're ready. We need that fiber optic in my house. Grandkids come over, I can't watch a thing.
Yeah, you got that bandwidth,
Their phones never buffer,
yeah, yeah.
but my TV just buffers like crazy when they're over.
Yep.
Guys,
I'm
you
a
have-
larger fan of broadband than 5G.
Gotta get off
Well,
that
do we
dial-up.
have any other questions?
Gotta get off that dial-up.
Guys, is there anything else you want to present? Is this
Now,
good?
do you want me to leave some cards with you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, let's leave
Okay.
some cards out here.
So, do we need a, this is work session, but on the next agenda, do we want to put, we're not ready to do contracts. What's the timeline for contracts and?
Well, our contract's already done as
Done?
far as
Okay, I
our
can
development
remember.
agreement, that's in place.
Okay.
We have a 2-year window from when we signed that, when we executed that to breaking ground without adding any kind of amendment or something like that, which we don't intend to do that. We intend to break ground within our given timeline. But the Smart Cities Agreement would probably be something that would probably have to go in front of council for approval on that sort of thing.
Okay.
And again, that is purely at the discretion of the city if that's something that they want to do.
All right, well, sounds good. Thank you for the update. Thank you for coming out on short notice.
It's our pleasure.
And we just needed we needed to reconnect, find out where we're at.
So for the new council members, we did talk about starting on the southwest side of town somewhere down that direction. So, because I think we determined that was underserved,
Yes,
right, Mark?
sir. Yes, sir, that's correct.
So we,
That's what I
yeah.
remember.
And how we build out from our huts, right? And so, based off of where those huts are agreed to, right? And hopefully, we'll be keeping that in mind, hopefully the city will be keeping that in mind too, that's our goal, right? Is to build out from that and in that area. So, but it has to make sense from that standpoint, but absolutely, that is one of our top priorities.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
guys.
Councilman Mata, you finally got something going over there first, huh?
That's right.
We're gonna go on to item 4, discuss the purchase of 7 2025 Volvo VHD with can side load trucks. Mr. Adams.
Council, Mayor, I was able to get an additional allotment of 7 Volvo chassis and 7 can bodies for delivery in quarter 1 and 2 of 2024. I would like to ask the city to approve the purchase for these 7 additional trucks for solid waste at the cost of $2,205,197.
Okay. Council, any discussion? You get a consensus to move forward, put it on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It should all be that easy. Item 5, discuss the approval of 2023-24 budget for the Emergency Communications District, Ector County. Chief Gerke.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. This is just approval of the Emergency Communications District's budget for this upcoming year. The city provides no funds to this board. It generates its funds through taxes, telephone taxes, cell phone taxes, VoIP taxes, those types of things. That's how it operates. The vast majority of the funds that are generated go back into operations. Some of the funds that you see here are interest-based. We always have a balanced budget. If there's anything on this budget anything in particular that you would like to discuss, I'm open to discuss that with you. Their mission is to bring that 911 call
Yeah.
from the phone to dispatch.
Okay.
That's their mission, and that's where all these funds are expended, with labor and salary costs and fulfilling that mission.
Jay, real quick,
Yes.
we got 2 items on here.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if I'm getting it mixed up. So the last time we had a Permian Basin Regional Commission, and Councilman Swanner sits on that,
Yes.
right? And so this came out of this from the mass shooting of the communications. And so then we're gonna do the truck line between Midland and Odessa. Is that gonna be the next item of discussion?
Yes.
Okay. So do we have any questions on item 5? If not, Chief, go ahead and let's go on to item 6 to discuss the installing of the fiber line for the city of
Okay.
Odessa radio core.
Sure. Okay. So this is just at this point, a resolution to allow the city of Odessa to install and apply funds for the operation of a fiber line that would link the fiber line that we're proposing is the backup line. The city of Midland is already constructing the primary line that would connect the city of Odessa's radio core to Midland County's radio core. And what that would do would allow everyone in Ector County, all those entities, fire, PD, SO, that are on our core here in Odessa, to speak with everyone in Midland County, fire, PD, SO, just by clicking the channels on your radio. Right now, we have to go to special channels, back channels. There's only 3 of them set up right now that allows for that communication, and that communication is just between OPD and MPD or OFR and Midland Fire. So there's so many advantages to this. For 5 years, for the construction and 5 years of maintenance for this fiber line is $162,000. Most of this money is coming from monies that were set aside for other programs. These are not new funds that we're asking for. These funds were set aside for other programs that didn't, the Critical Connect, if you recall that. We found a better way. So this has cost a little bit more than a Critical Connect, but some of this is also being paid for with seizure funds.
Oh, okay.
So it's owed funds that are set aside for other projects that didn't pan out, and then seizure funds. So we're not asking for any more new funds to be allocated to this. And again, this will pay for the construction and 5 years of maintenance. I have Russell Knese here with Motorola that can answer more questions. And actually, it's going to give you an overview of what the system will do and the advantages of the system.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Chief said, my name is Russell Knese. I apologize. Motorola has our computers locked down where we can't dump presentations onto a thumb drive and just slide it in, so it's taking me a minute to get set up. A little bit of background on me is I actually come from the public safety world. I'm still a commissioned peace officer, and I've worked on systems much like this throughout my career. So I can speak to it from a standpoint of as Motorola, but I can also tell you how the other half lives because I've been on the other side as well. I don't think that there's been a formal name adopted for the radio system as of yet. So right now, I'm just calling it the regional radio system for lack of other terms. Before we get started, does anybody have any questions about the idea of a regional radio system that I can address maybe outside of the presentation?
Is that gonna be a above-ground installation for the line?
No, it's not above ground.
Is it below?
I do have some questions, but let's go through the presentation because I got to try to remember because it was at the luncheon that somebody was sitting with me and was bringing up a bunch of scenarios. Just trying to go back there and remember what they were.
Okay.
And as we go to the presentation, hopefully they'll start coming back.
Okay. And I'm not much, as I refer to it on the law enforcement realm, I'm not much of a death by PowerPoint guy. So there's one statement up here I want to read, but a lot of it's just going to be conversation that we're going to have. So this presentation's been prepared by the Motorola team to highlight the advantages of building a regional radio system in the Permian Basin. Specifically in regards to what's called dynamic system resilience, or a DSR system. DSR is a system-level configuration that allows 2 geographically separated cores to operate simultaneously within the same system. During a normal operation, there's a master site that operates as the system core, or the brain, if you will, while a DSR operates in the background, storing the exact same information that the master has. So in the event of some sort of catastrophic failure at the master site, whether it be a router failure, power failure, catastrophic event to the building where it's housed, whatever the scenario is, the backup site seamlessly comes up. First responders and everybody else using the system will know nothing happened. The radio might blink for a split second, but it's going to come right back up and pretend like nothing's ever happened. It will continue to operate in the event of a switchover. It will continue to operate off the backup site or DSR site until an event happens there and it transfers back to the master site, or there's a manual command given to transfer it back to the master
Will the
site.
system ever be tested to make sure that that does happen?
So actually, part of going online in this configuration is we intentionally break the system to prove that it switches back and forth as it should.
Okay.
That's part of what's called an acceptance test plan, and we will throw every scenario that an engineer can come up with at the system to try to break it to prove that
It
it
works.
fails over
Yeah.
correctly.
Okay.
All right, just for some quick definitions, a master site facilitates area-wide roaming, and what area-wide roaming is, the easiest way to explain it is, it turns your handheld or your radio into a cell phone with a push-to-talk button. The radio's gonna roam throughout the tower system and change towers as signals, as signal strength prevails to a different tower without the end user ever doing anything to it. So it also administers the administrative tools that manage the system resources and subscriber fleets. The DSR, or Dynamic System Resilience, allows the redundant system level master site capabilities, obviously at two separate geographic locations like we just spoke about. And security groups are how the system partitions different agencies within the system. So Odessa will have a system, security group, Ector County would have a security group, Midland and Midland County would both have security groups, so on and so forth. And again, just going back to the DSR, because that's the important piece of this scenario. The DSR system has two cores, which again are comprised of various routers, servers, and site controllers that act as the brain of the system. So in the event of a component failure, catastrophic event, or catastrophic power failure, at the master site, the system will continue to operate because it goes over to the DSR. Anybody have any questions so far?
Yes.
Okay.
You're gonna like this question. So go back to the previous slide.
Okay.
Security groups, how the system partitions different agencies within the system. So we're constantly getting PIRs and criticism for what we're doing with our system. That is basically, how it's, anyway, so, from what I understand, a little that I've heard about it is that why we're doing this because of the communications that experienced in 2019 or lack of, right?
Well,
In theory.
more than that, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
that's
but
when
yeah,
the-
we'll be able to do more.
That's when the conversations really
Began.
started, right.
Okay, so if our system is basically, so are we gonna be communicating constantly or only when we need to?
Constantly.
Okay.
We'll have the ability to constantly communicate.
So here's the question that I know is gonna be coming.
Sure.
You're gonna have that one individual.
Absolutely.
That we do theirs and Midland doesn't do that. So how is that gonna be handled?
So if we are encrypted and someone else is not.
Yeah.
So,
So the lawyer needs to know because that staff is gonna get hit.
No, absolutely.
This is coming.
We actually had that conversation in one of the Friday meetings, so.
So, let me make sure I understand what the question is. If City of Odessa, we'll just call it PD TAC 1, is encrypted,
Our communications are encrypted, and so we're constantly criticizing this, and, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah,
So nobody can listen to them.
no.
yeah.
Yeah, so the question is, if we're encrypted and then Midland is not, how does Midland listen to that?
Okay, so if Midland is not encrypted, using that scenario, in order to monitor Odessa talk groups, their radios would have to be programmed with that encryption, so when they move over to an Odessa talk group, they could both receive and transmit on that encrypted data, or on that encrypted
Does
talk
Midland
group.
know that?
Yes,
Okay. So they're aware, they're completely aware.
absolutely. These meetings that we're having discussing this is region-wide. We have, OPD, OFR, Sheriff's Office, Midland PD, Midland County, Midland Fire. Everybody's-
UTPB.
UTP, everyone's represented in those meetings.
Okay, so the thing is that, once again, we've explained to the party that we're not violating the law for their encryption.
Right.
Even though this person insinuates that we are, but hasn't yet not been able to provide anything that, so this has been thoroughly vetted.
Yes.
Okay, so this has been discussed, okay.
And this same type setup is being used in different various systems across the entire state.
No, I get
So-
it, but this is an expert that wants to
I
be
understand.
part of this process, and so, it's just impossible.
Chief Gerke, you mentioned all the law enforcement agencies. I didn't hear DPS. Where do they fit in, if at all?
Well, right now DPS has access to our radio system, but they're on the Gator system. This system will have an access to the Gator system that will allow us that communication with DPS also.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead,
And if
continue.
memory serves correctly, I'd have to look at a DPS code point to verify this, but if memory serves correctly, DPS actually has the Odessa system programmed into their radios.
They do.
As well, correct? Okay.
Okay, go ahead and continue, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so what does this really mean? There's a lot of lingo. Basically, what it's gonna mean is first responders and any other subscribers on the system, whether it be Public Works or whoever, will enjoy a vastly enhanced coverage area. The other part of it is gonna be, as Chief Gerke spoke to, in the event of a situation, and being a first responder, there's certain words that we don't use because it invokes things to happen, it seems like. In the event that Odessa gets called to Midland, Midland gets called to Odessa, whatever the scenario is, instead of having to rely on patches, gateways, basically as I refer to it as Band-Aids to get everything patched together, everybody's on the same native system. So depending upon the scenario, they may not even change talk groups as they're responding over. Dispatch may, at their level, start patching talk groups together. So there's actually no user interface required by the officer or the fire company that's responding over, because that ability will be there as well. It can go anywhere from, like he said, switching talk groups to go to a Midland talk group to, okay, this is what's going on, so we're gonna start patching talk groups together, so it's just a seamless transition. And from an end user standpoint, dispatch will come, or at least in the world that I lived in, dispatch would come across and say, hey, we're patching channel X to channel Y. And as soon as they did it, you started hearing traffic from channel Y, they started hearing traffic from channel X, and when you keyed up, it went across both channels. So, talking about an enhancement of the service area, this is the proposed mobile coverage map utilizing the existing towers that Odessa and Ector County have, as well as the towers that Midland County and the city of Midland are putting up. This is figured on mobile coverage, excuse me, with a shorter antenna mounted to the center of the roof of the vehicle. This is the proposed portable coverage map. So you can see that as opposed to, you know, something that's basically centric around the city of Midland and Ector County, you get a lot larger footprint immediately upon recognition of this system. And basically what it allows for is a sharing of resources when it comes to towers.
I never knew we had a Lake Pegasus.
Well, we have the name, we don't have the name.
I'm glad you asked that question.
There's a lake, there's
Everybody
also,
was thinking it.
there's also a lake in Andrews if you go over there. Chief, let me ask you a question. So the cost that you present, is this a one-time or is it gonna be ongoing?
So that cost is to lay the fiber initially and for 5 years of maintenance. After 5 years, it is $1,700 a month.
Okay. And will you continue to try to pay for it the way you're doing it right now?
If we possibly can.
Can? Okay.
So based on this map, I mean, first thing that pops in my head is we're going out to No Trees, but not to Andrews or down to Crane.
Yeah, I think to create that, we'd have to throw up more antennas.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
That's correct.
Because
Now-
those aren't much further than Midland, actually, but except you throw a tower in between, yeah, I get that part.
Now, with the addition, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but with the ability to connect with that Gator system, some of these other smaller departments in our area all are connected to that system. We can then connect with, beyond our core system, to those agencies also. And that's part of this process, is talking to those smaller agencies and saying, hey, would you allow us, give us the ability to speak with you on that system also? It's just not as seamless as this core would be.
Right.
It'd still give us the ability to have those communications.
I can't remember what it was. There was some criticism at the Permian Basin Regional Luncheon that we went.
Okay.
I can't remember who was sitting there with me, but they brought this system up, and I was just looking, I was like, I have no idea
Generally
what they were
speaking,
talking.
they are proponents of everyone being on Gators.
Okay, so what's the Gator?
The Gators is the,
Gators, it stands for the Greater Austin Travis County Regional Radio System. It was originally a radio system that was Austin and Travis County, as the name would imply. But then it grew into Williamson County, Bastrop County, and it has grown throughout the state at this point. It's a system that's, don't quote me on this, but about 16, 17 years old at this point.
There was something to around that area about how we're going from one, I can't remember, but I know they weren't too happy about it, and I've slept since then, so I can't recall, but you brought this up. Okay. That's all the questions I got. Anybody else got any more questions? Everybody's got it down, patted?
Well, I have one, but it's a horrible question. You don't have, it seems like nobody ever thinks of EMP. And that's gonna be one of our biggest emergencies one of these days, but that's just not there.
I do not want to survive that.
I don't have a good answer for your question. I'll be completely honest with you, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. EMP is gonna be, it's gonna be a real thing, and it's gonna be a real thing.
And even the sun can do it naturally, and it has.
I don't have a good answer for the
EMP would
question.
be the first strike, and we'll take it out electronics. Just say this, is none of us want to ever get to that point where we're dealing with an EMP.
We'll have bigger problems at that point.
Yeah. Better be well armed, that's all I gotta say on that one. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're gonna move on to item 7, discuss purchasing of CityWorks assessment management software and implementation of a new, I lost my space, New Edge Services LLC. Mr. Kirk.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What we have for you is consideration of purchasing software and implementation services to put it in place to do asset management with a work order system. And so the city has, say, 3,300 fire hydrants, 764 miles of water mains, 13,236 valves. We've got 43,000 plus water meters connections. Streets, we have 555 miles. And all these infrastructure, you have your city buildings with all their equipment in those, with air conditioning systems and all these electrical systems and things that are in those places. Parks has a lot of infrastructure, and they keep up with the trees and everything else. Don't want to speak to things that I don't work with much, but those areas. But Parks has a system, I think, but they've looked at this system. They may find it beneficial, but the rest of us do not have an asset management system. And it's really critical for us to know that when we go out and check valves, and if the valve doesn't work, that we can catalog that that valve is broken, and we can put it in a work order system so that we can go and address those valves. This also lets us plan for doing maintenance on hundreds of pieces of equipment in the plants, such as pumps and other types of things there. And so the work order system will also track us going out and taking care of an issue that may have come from council or from a resident or from anyone else. And we can track that we've got a work order created. We can see whether the work order is being addressed at the time and whether it's taken care of. The CityWorks work order system is one of the most prominent in the industries for water, sewer especially, and then streets as well. I've seen it many decades. They've been in business since 1996. So the proposal would be to purchase the CityWorks software. That would be, the first year would be $61,150. New Edge system services implements the system. So they come in, they get the system on their server, they'll host it on their servers. They set us up with the appropriate forms and types of things that the city wants to use. Well, we want our work orders to have on them. What do we want them to indicate? Same thing on inspections for whether it be fire hydrants, valves, all other types of equipment. The implementation will be over a 5-year time frame, and that quote is for $381,153. The CityWorks annual maintenance after year 1 is about $110,000 a year the first couple of years, and inclines a little bit the next 2 years. So that's $456,775 for 5 years. I included $100,000 for contingencies, so we may integrate with Munis on some different things, they'll have an integration cost and those types of things. So requesting some money there for those types of things. This would be a total cost over 5 years or about $1 million. Wanted to bring this to you. I would suggest funding this from our R&R funds, 500,000 from streets, and 500,000 from water and sewer. Those are the funds we use for street repairs and for water and line and replacements. And this system basically will help us plan those things better, know where we need to do those types of things, and make sure we're tracking how well those things are performing over time. So, for your consideration.
So what are we using now?
We don't have anything.
So we don't have a system that does work orders at all?
We have under Naviline, HTE, there's a system to put in a work order, say from asking to set a meter and those types of things. There is a work order system there. I believe we're trying to get away from it because we're having to buy large software, infrastructure, hardware and things like that, AS400s and things like that. This,
Let me simplify it for myself. Help me understand it, because you're going through this, and I'm trying to read it as quickly as possible. I apologize, 'cause I haven't really looked at this. We've been here for about 30 months. This is the first I've heard of City Works. So we've already gone through the budget. So was this be part of the, you're asking for this to be a part of, or a supplemental?
I'm asking for allocation of the funds from this year's budget.
Okay.
From the existing budget.
Okay, so, Mr. Kerr, walk me through what we have right now. So you say this City Works would work for, it was a request from the council for an individual and everything. So give me an example. I see something and, the street needs to, council decides that this street needs to be, something needs to be done to it, whether it's fixed it or we see something tangible that needs to be replaced. Let's say it goes through, utilities, or a meter. Let's just say, for example, let's just keep it simple. A meter needs to be replaced. Okay, give me an example, a meter from a water or something, or a transmission line.
Sure.
So walk us through it, because when I hear work order in the private sector, I know what that means. Well, being the municipality, it could mean a whole different deal, what we think it is.
Sure.
Or I'm speaking for myself, so walk me through that.
Okay, so I'll touch a little bit on, this is a GIS-centric system, so it resides with your GIS. And
With
so,
GIS is what?
Geographic Information System. So if you go to the city, you'll see our maps, and our maps will show where fire hydrants are and those types of things. This system is attached to that type of information, and I'm not a computer expert, so I'm speaking to you in kind of layman terms, and some of these guys may be able to help me too there. But anyway, so it resides with GIS, and so someone needs to have a new meter, a new service connected. When they go into water billing, they'll make the request just as they normally do, pay the applicable fees. Water billing will create the work order in City Works. It will automatically go out to distribution if they're setting the meter, or whichever ones are setting the meters at the time. And then that work order gets created and it goes to an actual individual that works for the city. And that individual is tracked as needing to go do that. They go out and do it. The system will even keep up with when they're there. This stuff works off cell phones, off tablets, and those types of services. And so they can document that and that it's been set. They'll go ahead and input the meter numbers, the meter information and that type of thing into the system as well. This works with, so even with water main breaks. You have a water main break, we're out there fixing it. We're tracking we can take pictures of the water main and what the break looked like, take a picture of what the repair looks like, gets attached to that location, and we know what's been happening with those mains. Valves, when we go out to operate valves, a lot of times the valves don't work. And sometimes we don't know for certain, but anyway, they don't work. So we have valve operating equipment. That operating equipment, you go out there, it'll link up to this City Works. And so when you're operating that valve, it'll track how many turns you got on that valve and how many.
But what's the system we have now?
We don't have anything.
So we don't have a system at all?
No, sir.
So we can't keep track of a work order at all?
Well, We manually, all we do is manually. I mean, when it comes to, say, valves, like whether they worked or not, is whether manually and whether you remember that one worked or that one didn't work and those
No
types of
record.
things.
Yeah, so right now you're explaining how this system works.
Yes, sir.
My question is, how are we doing it now, right now? So you're saying we don't?
So when it comes to meters and things like that through water billing, they do issue a work order on Naviline, which comes out there and we make sure and get a meter set and that type of thing. You probably know that better than I do, how it works. But anyway,
And this is called Naviline?
yeah, HTE Naviline, it's pre-Munis. And so we're still running that system just for this work order
So
type
how long
thing.
has Naviline been in place with the city?
I'm not sure when,
When was it?
I was in San Angelo when we implemented it back in the late nineties.
1995?
Yeah.
Okay, then you talk about Munis and that this would communicate with Munis. Walk me through Munis.
So if we desire to have communications in terms of, say, costing, you can link up with Munis and that type of thing, so that your labor costs can be tracked as well, or equipment costs and those things transferred into the work order. That's, can be very beneficial in many ways, but if you ask me, it's not my top priority. Now, I'm just telling you my perspective. My first perspective is I want to know what's working and what's not working. I mean, and whether that valve, if I know that I've got 20 valves that I need to replace, I can estimate that those valves cost $500 a piece and the installation. But if you have Munis, yes, you can track those individual work costs, and that gives you, if you have that link. But that's another component to take care of.
So when was Munis implemented?
About 4 or 5 years, about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so we wind up having, Naviline, is that what you said was?
Naviline.
Naviline, 95, then we brought in Munis.
It was founded in 1987, so we had to be.
Oh, you're on Google.
Yeah.
And so, 97?
Yes, that's when it was founded, so it had to be somewhere after
Oh,
that.
man, and we were here. Me and Clipper, Councilman Clipper, we were here with, that's our fault, right?
That's pretty ancient.
So, okay, so then we went, and then we went to Munis when, 5 years ago? Okay. You have any idea, so basically, were we upgrading, we went to Numis, is that what it's called?
Munis.
Numis, and so, I can't say, I just can't say that word right now. So, was that system supposed to do what City Works is proposed to do?
The Munis
Munis?
initially was purchased as an ERPs and so the name, but it's for the financials and all of those things. It does billing services as well
Okay.
and those types of things.
Okay.
They have a system that they were implementing to do this type of work, but it had not been installed in any other places and it had no real history or anything like that.
So Tom, just to simplify, I want to boil it down simple. Because I'm a keep it simple, stupid guy. So to me, it sounds like this system helps you track where you have been. And if you go back, you'll know when you were there last and what you repaired last. And you don't have to go dig something up to try to find out manually.
Right.
Does that sound right? And
Yes.
whether it's a water hydrant, a valve,
Right.
a meter, whatever, it inventories all that stuff and keeps up with what's been replaced, what hadn't been replaced, and perhaps what needs to be replaced.
Yes, sir. And so that's very, very true. So let's say in terms of pump maintenance and things like that, you want to go out and check the bearings on a routine basis. You want to do these types of things. This type of software will let you set up a routine
Schedule.
maintenance program schedule. So it'll issue a work order
basically,
automatically.
Make us more efficient.
But yeah, but the thing is, we haven't been doing it. And so we're buying a software, okay, that keeps track of what we're not doing right now. So we buy the software and we implement the software and we buy all this, okay, how do you still get the individual to go out and actually do it?
But you still will have to do that. I mean, we do We do it.
Yeah.
But not efficiently and not effectively. And then we don't know for sure.
We don't do the work efficiently, effectively, or we don't keep the tracking efficiently, effectively.
Tracking efficiently and effectively. I mean, we do know that we have pumps and that we need to go out and look at the pumps and things, and we do try to make sure we do that. Mr. Niles and his group can probably tell you better than I can, but those types of things. The same thing with streets. When we have potholes, it's gonna be a work order issued for pothole maintenance. Or if somebody's asking for specific maintenance based on curbing issues or things like that, these work orders will be created and they'll track in the system. So you can go back and see how many times did I have to fix the potholes on that street. It'll provide that information.
So maybe next time you don't fix the pothole, you fix the street.
Exactly, yes, sir. And you
Got
can start to plan those things well. But when you talk about valves and things, it can be really critical. Now, yes, sir, we have not had the staffing capacity to be able to do the valve maintenance, right? We don't have a routine valve inspection operation. And so with this system, you can do that if you have, again, you will need the personnel to do the routine valve inspections. But even if you don't do that, when you're out there working on a leak, you start trying to close valves and you realize this one didn't close or the valve's just spinning, you will log it in the system, and now you know that system will tell you that valve's not operating.
It's kind of like what we experienced in 2021.
Yes, sir.
So right now, we don't have any type of spreadsheet that we have, you can go back and look at when certain valves, pumps, whatever was purchased, we could kind of go on a routine maintenance on that, or?
Not really, no, yes, sir. We don't really have that. We have on some of our major equipment, we'll have a file that we can go look to and see, but it doesn't always have what you need and everything that you're looking for. And it'll get lost over time. Things get, when you move from one office to another and those types of
Somebody
things.
misfiled or something?
Yeah, right.
Never found that in my office.
Don't come look at my office because it's not the most organized, I'll tell you.
Oh, it's
So
over.
But-
Tom, would this be something that the utility department would work with you with also? Would they use the same software?
Oh,
as
yes,
well?
yes. And in fact, utilities probably has as much need for this as any department. And Kevin Niles has seen it and he's indicated to me that he's very much in favor of it. His experience would be that any city that he's been experienced with
Kevin Niles
would
is-
have this.
He's the utility.
Utility director.
Is he here?
No.
Oh, okay. I'd like to ask him a question.
So, Tom, what cities have you talked to that have this system?
Oh, there's
References?
right, there's over 32 cities in Texas. I mean, I know I've been to Tyler and seen their system. I've seen it over in Weatherford. The Irving has it, Denton has it, Houston has it, lots of cities have it. And,
Makes sense. Just an online inventory. Maintenance inventory.
It's $1 million and it's 500,000 is coming out of our water and sewer and roads. We have an issue with both of those,
Absolutely.
and so, I'm not saying, and I'm only speaking for myself, council, is I'd like to get a little bit more into this and figure this out. Because, I'm reading this right here, and I'll give you an example right here. So, this is CityWorks AMS Implementation Phase 2 Parks and Recreation Description. And so this is a description of track materials received, supply returned by work order, adjust costs, create orders for materials and suppliers. So it's going down all this implementation process. So basically it comes down to storm room module. So bin in 2.3, import historical rec data. Import will include all work orders, service requests, all applicable agency, RecTech database, CityWorks database, import records to noted for CityWorks database initiated by the field having legacy systems named and historical number of comments and new edge staff. Will work for city staff to determine appropriate mapping data, legacy, and CityWorks. I have no idea what the hell that means. Now the thing is that, and because I don't have the historical data, but in order to make a sound decision, because one of the things is as we work with staff, you guys are guiding us. But I also want to be able to understand because this is $500,000 coming out of street. This is also $500,000 coming out of water and sewer. I'm not saying that it's not needed, but I want to be able to sleep at night making sure that if we're going to sacrifice that this is going to do exactly what you're saying it's going to do. Because Right now, we have a system that's in 1995, which obviously is antiquated. We went to Munis, it basically hasn't been applied across the board. And now we're gonna have a third system. So the thing is this gonna replace all of that? Or is it gonna be all intermingled hybrid of all three? I'm not asking an answer, I don't know, but I just wanna understand just a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Well, another question too is, do we want to spend $1 million on this software and, I guess, be aware of our inefficiencies and what we need to go and replace, but not have the staff to do it? Or do we want to hire the staff first and have them on board?
Think about that.
And then, that way, whenever we get to the point, we can actually go and, okay, what's the point of having the software to tell us, hey, this needs to be done, but we don't have the people to get it done?
So I've been pursuing this for over 10 years. I pursued it in San Angelo. I can tell you that when you talk about whether staff or this and that type of thing, so when we went through the water plant tours that I did with several of you, the question is, why did the plant get this far, this bad? Why haven't we done something before now? What is the story? When the 24-inch valve didn't work last year on 42nd Street, same questions. Why didn't we know that? Why didn't we already have it fixed?
Good point.
These are the reasons.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
And I can tell you, I've been trying to do this for 10 years. Look, it's not about spending money, it's about using money to make your best use of money over the long term. The master plans we've done are all for that same reason, to try and figure out how we can make sure that our money goes the longest effect. You never know which lines are gonna blow up for sure. I mean, sometimes it's a line you haven't ever had a problem with, sometimes it's not. But at least this gives you a better method to try and take care of what you're doing. We've got pumps that, they run, they work and things like that, but you know they're gonna eventually go down, and then sometimes they go down, because without you being prepared for it. These types of things, this is the type of thing that helps you try to make sure of that. And when we talk about the monies, about whether it's personnel or this, and I'll speak in this sense, is that one of the issues that municipalities have in all cases, and I am not a tax and spend person, I grew up in private business, I was raised in private business, I understand private business, nobody wants to have to pay for things. But I can tell you, the reason that these things happen is because we aren't able to use our funds as efficiently as we need to, and quite honestly, we are short on funds. There's just no doubt about it. You wouldn't have to go out for a $95 million bond on a water plant if you had already been putting money aside from your funding, okay? Cities have never done that and don't do that, and that's just the system, and that's the way it works. But if you wanted your money to be more efficient, you build a $100 million plant, you expect say you projected out 100 years, just for short, easy. Next year, that plant's now worth $99 million. If you wanted to make your company stay whole, you would have put $1 million in the hole. And then next time, when you get to 50 years and you need to do $50 million worth of work on the plant, you've got $50 million. That's the effective way to do management. But cities can't afford that. Cities aren't able to do that. This will help you try to make as good a project as you can out of all that.
Mr. Niles is here.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, Mr. Niles is here if you want to bring him up.
Mr. Niles,
Yes.
what's your opinion and your feeling on this City Works?
So I was really surprised when I came over that the city didn't have any kind of asset management tool already in place. So this City Works program allows us to have a good asset management. I think Tom alluded to, so if we have like valves that need to be exercised, it tracks that. It keeps track of when it was exercised, who did it, how many turns it took, all the information regarding that specific valve. Hydrants, anything that has to do with the asset within the city. This will allow us to track it, it'll allow us to have better data related to that. And again, it's an asset management tool for the most part. It's being able to manage your assets as far as like pumps, you can, when they broke, how they got fixed, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So,
For those of you that are veteran council people,
Hey, look, this is the first we've heard it too, so.
Oh, no, no,
we're-
I was
we're
gonna
all
a-
at the same level at
no,
this
no,
point.
you haven't let me finish where I'm going with my
Okay.
question.
I thought you were gonna say, I
No,
thought we already,
no, no.
you had a heads up on it, like,
No,
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 not this one.
You know the budget and what's out there that monies can be spent on or should not be spent on. What Mr. Kerr has presented to us today, in your budget knowledge, is there something we can explore to see if there's something out there for that $1 million?
well, my question was gonna be ARPA money, if that's for.
I didn't say ARPA, but that's where I was going.
No,
with
I
it.
know, that's where I was fixing to go. I'm sitting there looking at Seth, and we can use it for that, can we not, Seth?
I believe it has to do with government services.
Uh-huh.
There's probably some black and white statement that may allow us to do that. And I'll definitely look into that.
So that would be the place to get it, Mayor, instead of sacrificing our roads.
Yeah, that's the only, that's the big deal that I have, you know,
Because I still wanna use some of that ARPA money for roads as well, so, you know, and the roads just.
And I'm sorry to spring it on you. This is not, I've worked in computers for some time and to some degree, but I'm not a computer expert. But I've been pursuing this type of thing for some time. And it's just that now is an opportunity to start and bringing it to you so that we can try and get it done. Because the
Verdi-
longer we wait, the harder I mean,
so
it's
you
just
say,
that
you
much
say you've been
worse.
trying to do this for 10 years here with the city of Odessa?
Yes, sir.
Well, so what has been the discussion over that course?
Well, at one point, we had some funding to start to implement it.
The
And-
city works?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
And so then, at that point, they also, went to the ERP with Munis, which is the financial type software. And at that point, the city pulled back on the CityWorks because they felt like they would try to get one company, one package that would do everything.
And was this the thought process on the munis that it would do that?
They were looking at the system that Munis was developing. Now, Munis had not had it employed. It was not now, this is me speaking, but when you haven't had anything for a very long time, I'm not big on jumping off on the new guy. Not because he couldn't do a great job. He may do a fabulous job, but he hasn't shown any history for you yet. These others at least have a history. So to build your system, at least go in with somebody who has shown capacity, history, and everything else to do it. And so that would be my fear, is to jump off into one that doesn't. This one is GIS centric, so you can see your assets on your GIS maps. You can query as to how many 8-inch valves I've got that aren't working, how many potholes have I got in this street. It'll all demonstrate on your GIS. You can see it in mapping, which to me is very beneficial. This system's been around for a very long time. Again, used by 32 cities in the state, 850 clients across the country. It's not a small company in that sense. And so, it's one that, my deal is just, I feel like my time's getting to where it's gonna be hard to get there before I'm gone. And, I just mean, eventually I will retire, right, or whatever, but I'm just trying to see if we can get something started, so.
So Mayor, would it be beneficial to have this company come in and make us a presentation and show us how it operates?
Yeah,
I mean, I'd like to see how it
I
operates,
just want to
but
get a little more comfortable with it. You know, the thing is like when we wind up doing PSI, you know, we went back and forth a lot there. I said, well, you know, the thing is that we wanted to answer a lot of questions that arose from the break. You know, do we have an early detection system? I know this council we spoke about, remember we talked about, you know, do we have a program for, you know, testing the valves? And I remember this, is that, well, you know, do we really want to test the valve? You know, no, we don't have one, but it also be careful if we test a valve.
break it.
Well, we could wind up sealing it shut, you know, until, which made sense. And we've been talking a lot about valves to this, but the thing is that I think, from my point, is that every time we brought somebody in, they've always come in here and got boots on the ground, gave us an assessment without cost, and then came back and gave us some answers. So we got a couple of months of getting familiar with it, learning about it. asking a lot of questions, and things came up and progressively. So I would, is it a possibility they could come and talk to us?
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay.
And they don't assess our equipment. This
No,
is purely
understand.
set up as a software management type system, right?
But from my standpoint is, understand what the system does. Two, how do you implement it with what we have now? Does it replace it? Because it's been 5 years that we had Munis. And so this was 5 years ago. So the other system was put in 97, correct? And then Munis came in. So what happens to me? What was the investment in Munis?
Well, Munis is the ongoing, all your data on,
Everything that we
purchasing,
talked about,
everything,
because
all
we
that
keep
stuff.
Munis, well, on Munis and so that's everything that we're doing now. And so does it integrate with it? I guess I'm just trying to get a little bit more understanding of it, if that makes sense. But I would like to, to do that, and then also identify, Seth, about ARPA funds and where we're at, because we're gonna get that presentation pretty soon, aren't we? On the ARPA funds, and we're gonna set those out. So let's do that. Yes, sir.
Councilman Tony Flores, IT Director. So I can answer some of the questions about Munis. So
Okay.
Munis is mainly financial purchasing, and it has done payroll and stuff like that. And we did do billing collections, but it doesn't do that very well. It does have an asset management part of it. We haven't purchased that, but in Novaline, it has a workflow, but it doesn't do asset management. Where they're talking about it, they have asset management that does workflow, where we only have workflow, we don't have asset management. Munis does offer asset management and workflow, but we haven't purchased it, so we do.
Any idea why? Anybody here you have any idea why?
It hadn't been used by, when we looked at it several years ago, it hadn't been used by anybody.
It's fairly a new product, so they only have asset management for maybe 4 to 5 years, so it's not very mature. We'd probably be one of the first.
Oh, we're the guinea pig.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
sounds about right.
Yes, sir.
Passing that one.
Mayor, so, and that's true, but the initial design was that the entire city was supposed to be moving on to the system.
The Munis?
The Munis system. And, so it did have some modules, and, for some reason, we didn't move completely with some other modules. But they're there. We currently have another, modular system in our system, which is called the MGO, My Government Online. It also offers this type of thing. So, these are options that are available for you all to consider, along both with these, with CityWorks. Just so you'll have a complete understanding of how we've reached this point. So we do have Munis, which does have this module. How well it works, we don't know because we refuse to buy it. And then the second is that we do have an MGO module within our system now.
Okay.
Do we know about its performance?
Excuse me?
Do you know about its performance?
The modules that we have, it works very well.
The MGO unit works well.
Yes.
And where is it used on?
It's through our development system
I know, development for what?
for the city.
New development services, permitting and stuff like that.
Planning.
Planning and, yeah.
Well, I do agree
Permitting
with,
ain't working too good.
I do agree with Tom that it would be great to have some kind of software program that manages and tracks all of our valves and whatnot, so we could be more preventive and not reactionary. But I also think maybe we can look at other options too. I think you bring up a good point that something that we need to look into.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I'd like some more time to look into this, the CityWorks, and see what Munis offers, see if there's any others, and maybe, like they were saying, maybe CityWorks can come in and do a presentation.
Do a demonstration, yeah.
I wouldn't mind that at all, but I think it's great that we're finally at this point, because I think it's very important for us.
Okay. So do everybody want to, so basically is it possible you guys we can schedule them to come in on another work session? And we can talking to them. Also, for us to be able to add, I'd like to ask more questions on the NGO and the Munis, and, because when you hear Munis really don't get into it, because, just like to be able to know, and give some options. That gives us, set some time to look at some, funding options. I know I'm not comfortable with taking money out of of those two different departments, our water, sewer, and our roads. But if we are gonna wind up doing that presentation on the money for the ARPA, so we'll be able to address that. And so we'll look at that.
When is that?
Well, I'll have to get with Seth here pretty soon. I think we're gonna wind up doing it in the next work session.
I would say either next work session or work session after that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions on this?
I just want to compliment Mr. Kerr for your attitude of wanting to leave us in a better situation than we're in. So thank you.
Anything else you want to add to this, guys?
No, I wanted to add, like I said, coming into a city of this size and not seeing that we have an asset management tool in place was pretty disheartening, honestly. I was astonished. So, you know, I'm indifferent to the programs that we use, if it's CityWorks or Munis or what have you, but we definitely need something.
Okay.
Not having anything is detrimental to the city.
Okay. Well, good information. I appreciate it, guys. Let us catch up and try to delve into as much as possible, and then we'll move forward with it. Fair enough? All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We're gonna
Thanks,
move
guys.
on to item, get back to my agenda.
8.
So we're gonna get up to item 8. Discuss the rejection of proposal for sale of property downtown. Ms. Prieto.
Hi, good afternoon. So today I'm asking to see if we can go ahead and reject the one and only bid that we received back in May for the property that's located on Fifth and Grant. We would like to, if we can agree to reject that one, we would like to put it back for a bid with a little bit more requirements on it that would move it towards our master plan that the city has.
This is the property on
Fifth and Grant.
What used to be there?
JCPenney's.
The old JCPenney's lot.
The old JCPenney.
You remember?
You remember?
Remember.
No, I remember Winkler's.
Oh, no, that I don't remember. Okay, council, we have consensus to move forward to put this on the agenda for 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to item, where we at? Item 9, discuss the lease in soccer fields building located at 4819 North Everglade, Odessa, Texas, for the Odessa Soccer Association.
I can
Mr.
handle it.
Jones, you wanna answer that?
Yes, sir. So what we have is the lease agreement. Of course, it is proposed lease agreement between Odessa Soccer Association and the city of Odessa. Basically, we're asking for an indemnity agreement. Also, we're asking for Odessa Soccer Association to pay 10% of its yearly membership fees to us, as well as 10% of its yearly concession sales. Of course, this is all to use Sherwood Park until something else comes along. And we're asking for $2,500 per month. And the agreement that you have, it basically, we have, of course, a liability in it, insurance and all of that, and it's for 1 year. And we also have SAM, which is sexual abuse molestation insurance as well, that will be required by the Odessa Soccer Association. Now, I believe I have Mr. Martinez here and Mr. Highshaw here, and I also have Mr. Reyes here and Mr. Tucker here, because apparently we're going to need to lay out the fields a little bit differently, because we want the west side to still be a park. And so we're going to want to push the soccer fields to the east toward Everglade and away from Dixie. And we're also going to need to, of course, engineering is going to need to sign off on this ultimately, because there's a myriad of water lines out there. and they can come up and kind of explain how the water system works. And from my understanding, it starts on the west side and works its way around to the 3 to 4 day process, works its way around to the east side. So, but this is for your consideration, and I'm sure that Mr. Martinez and Mr. Henshaw will want to speak on it.
Go ahead, come on.
And Mayor, please remember too that this is, Sherwood Park is deemed as an open public park. It is not a soccer field.
Okay.
Or at least its use is not supposed to be a soccer field. So we're still going to have to go back and amend our ordinance on that as well.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, just identify yourself for the record. and
This
you
is
have-
Tom Martinez, Odessa Soccer
And
Association.
you have the floor, sir. Go ahead.
I guess we received the lease agreement that Dan mentioned on Friday evening. Max actually met me out at Sherwood Park, gave it to me. We have had a little time to digest it, to be quite honest with you. Some of the points that are made in the lease agreement, we have not had a chance to set, financial value to us, like you mentioned, the SAM stuff. I mean, we have insurance, obviously, we just don't know every single aspect that it meets this agreement. So that's one thing that we've got to figure out, how much additional cost that is to us to get that insurance, if it's not covered now. The other thing, obviously, is Odessa Soccer Association, along with every other youth organization in Odessa, we've never paid anything to use fields, not once. Nobody has. I know I've talked to everybody in the last 2 or 3 days. Nobody has.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, let's discuss the agreement.
I'm getting to that, yes, sir. Because obviously, one of the items in this is that,
Yeah.
is that cost to
And
us.
we understand that, we understand the historical history that you've never paid. You made that, clear. But the thing is, when we met the last time,
Yes,
which 2 weeks ago, this Thursday,
Yes, sir.
we discussed that we were going to come together and discuss going forward soccer. This is the meeting in which we're gonna do it.
Yes, sir.
So the thing is, we can spend the next hour going back and rehashing the historical, what the Second Soccer Association hasn't done in the past. But what we really need to do is get down to, let's talk to the semantics of this.
We can.
Let's get into the weeds to this.
Yes, sir.
We can then go back and then talk about what hasn't, what was been going on for the last 20, 30
Yeah,
years.
no, that's fine. We don't need to
Let's
rehash.
get into this.
We don't need to rehash all that. My point is being that these are obviously all new fees to us.
Okay,
We have just finished our registration for the fall season.
understand.
Which we did not add any money to cover these fees.
Okay.
So if you add this stuff up, rough estimate to us,
So how much time do you need to go over this and redline, and that way we can continue the dialogue?
I think we need at least a couple weeks to go over it, because we've got to figure out what the financial impact is to us. Just a rough estimate,
Okay.
off the top of my head, we're talking
So
about,
can we agree on this agreement right here? You get 2 weeks, and we'll put this on the agenda, on the city agenda on the 22nd.
well.
That's
if
2
it's-
weeks.
But if it's on the agenda on the 22nd, you guys can vote on it, and we haven't got a chance
We
to.
can and we cannot.
Right.
We don't necessarily have to. But the thing is that if we need to take action either way, whether we extend or things, we can do it in the council meeting. Doesn't, just because we put it on the agenda, doesn't mean it's a finality. We have the availability and the flexibility. It just gives us more.
Yes, but I understand that.
I mean,
but-
if we chose, we could vote right now.
Yes, sir, you could.
Yeah.
But, and that's my whole point. When it's on the agenda, you can vote. If
We
it's
can
not on
vote,
the agenda.
we can vote right now.
You can't.
This is a discussion. So you basically said, hey, I need 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because what's gonna happen if we said, well, you
Well,
said 2 weeks, I said, okay, we'll put it on the agenda. Well, now you're basically saying,
Well,
can you do it in 2 weeks or can you not do it
I
in 2
need
weeks?
2 weeks to discuss it intelligibly,
Okay.
is what I need. But I would rather you guys not vote on it when we're also discussing it, because we have a lot of points on here that are really unclear to us. I really would like to sit down with Dan as well and clear some stuff up, so I understand.
No, Mr. Martinez, we're gonna do it on council. This is the form that we're gonna do it in. We're not gonna do it on individual basis in the lawyer's office. You, as the soccer association specifically, 2 weeks ago, told us in a meeting where you said, we wanna be part of discussions when it's soccer.
Definitely,
Sir, this is the meeting where we're discussing soccer.
definitely.
And we're gonna do it so everybody can hear and be part of it, where there is no, basically misinterpretation of the communications that we're having. For the reason is because soccer is a lot of members. It affects a lot of families.
It does.
2 weeks ago, y'all made it very painfully clear to us that, that basically is that there was an assumption that we were against soccer and we wanted to throw soccer out from Sherwood. So here are the issues. The issue is that it is a green space, okay? So,
But
no, let me finish. It is a green space. And, okay, go ahead. What do you got to say?
But it was defined a green space after
Okay.
we were given permission to be there.
Okay. Okay, so going forward, so you're not prepared to discuss this right now?
I mean, in general, yes, but not in specifics. That's why I was hoping to, I mean, we can discuss it in council, but Dan's gonna be the one that really has defined some of these
Okay,
terms from a
before we get-
legal.
Before we get down in the
legal
weeds again, we did this last Thursday.
Yeah, we did.
So take that to your attorney, have him redline it, send it back to Dan, have them redline it back, whatever, and then get it to us before the next council meeting, before the Friday, before the council meeting. Each of the council members look at it, and we'll vote on it. We'll discuss it, and then vote on it. So that seems to be the process. then.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Jones.
that's what we need to do.
Correct.
With everything
Can
else.
you take it to your attorney,
And the
and
open.
redline it, and then we'll go back and forth between now and in 2 weeks?
I mean, 2 weeks, I said 2 weeks to intelligibly discuss it. I don't think we'll be ready to,
But that's why you're gonna give it to your lawyer.
I understand that, yes, but you're also telling me that I can't go directly to Dan
You're
and
not a
talk to him
lawyer.
about it. I
Your
know I'm not a
lawyer looked
lawyer.
at it.
Yeah, that's what the lawyer looked at it.
Because you're gonna talk to him directly, and you're gonna, he said, she said, we
Yeah.
said, they said.
It's best if your
We're not gonna
lawyer
do that.
calls me. It'll be easier.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
That will work. And that way he can go from item, from
Right.
one article to the second article, and item three, and then go through each and every one item, and then we'll find that common
Yeah.
ground.
Okay.
And Mayor, also, on the maps, you're gonna need to have your attorney look at the maps. And we're gonna probably need to work with Mr. Reyes as well, because I think the idea is for you to be on the east side and not over by the pool on Dixie. So that's gonna have to be worked out as well. And of course, we're still gonna have to get engineering to sign off on this because of all the water lines.
Sure, the one thing, our footprint at Sherwood Park, in our understanding right now, based on our population of teams, is the minimum space that we need to operate out there. Moving fields for us is,
But weren't y'all gonna redesign the fields as you stated 2 weeks ago?
yes, but
Okay.
we weren't gonna, we were gonna keep the same footprint, though.
But
We
what
weren't
we're
gonna
asking is that
minimize
it be all minimized all to the east. That's what we're requesting.
And I'm respectfully that that's almost impossible for us to do.
I understand that, but the request from the city is that you will do it within the footprint to the east. So we can return that area from the.
I thought this is the same situation we had before with, we think we're gonna negotiate, but you guys are just dictating to us what we're gonna do.
You did,
Based
you
on,
did the same thing.
no, sir, I did not.
So you're not doing that right now?
No, I'm saying what we know from experience for 2 years at Sherwood Park, what we need to run the league at Sherwood. That's not dictation, that's fact,
But
that's what
wasn't
we
it the
need.
fact that you said 2 weeks ago that the reason why y'all were gonna redefine those, so y'all could add more fields on the east side? That's why y'all were gonna move things around?
No, that's not
Oh,
what I
so
said.
that's not what you said
We
2
were
weeks
gonna,
ago?
we were gonna repurpose, not add.
Okay, so we completely misunderstood our.
I'm not sure what you did or didn't
What's
misunderstand.
repurpose mean?
We were going to redesign the footprint out there. It's the same footprint. We were just gonna repurpose to get off of high traffic areas where we've got no grass, basically.
I wasn't here. My question is, didn't this city construct on the south side off of Pool Road an area for mainly soccer fields?
You wanna ask Mr. Martinez how they feel about that?
We've talked about this before, we feel fine about that facility, but we just spent $217,000, Mr. Vasquez, moving to Sherwood back in 21, 2 years ago. So
Well, I don't know much about any of the history of that other than what I read, but
Comanche Park.
my whole point being is that I, for one, I'm a proponent of soccer.
We
My
appreciate
kids all
that,
played
Mr.
it.
Vasquez.
But I also, now being a city council member, I want to do the right thing, and not to either delay or be brought into this idea that we are against soccer, because this, we're not. It's just the fact that, I guess, a couple of years ago, maybe earlier than that, something was done that was not approved by the city council. And now we're having to clean it up. And I guess that's just part of the job that I get paid $10 a meeting for. But,
805.
805.
but here again, I mean, you would give this council an opportunity to really demonstrate to you that we're for soccer and the children that participate. We just want to know why that property out there is not being utilized for that purpose when it was constructed by the city for that purpose.
We discussed that in
Yeah.
2021,
Mhm.
and we were given permission by the former Parks and Rec director to move to Sherwood, Mr. Vasquez.
Right. Well-
And it's difficult for me to believe that you guys are so much for soccer when this lease agreement is gonna cost us roughly, I get some stuff defined, about $75,000 a year just to play at Sherwood.
The only thing I'll ask you is, on a personal basis, is focus your frustrations on the people that gave you that
That's fine.
situation, and, we'll see what we can do to help.
Well, that's fine. I'm in
Yeah.
the same boat as we discussed last time at
Yeah.
the last meeting, the same boat you
Well,
guys are
I
in.
want to tell you the same thing I told you in the last meeting, is that we are soccer people. That's why we're fixing to invest and raise and finance $70 million for new outdoor facilities. And you're saying you said the other day you weren't going to go up there because you weren't going to pay. So you want something for nothing, and that's not the way the world works. I know it's the way it has been, but the world changes. Things change, and so we're committing ourselves to youth soccer, basketball, football, baseball, indoor track, volleyball, all that stuff. And if the soccer association wants to use those facilities, they'll never have to pay for those. Because it's my intent, with all the power that I've got, as long as I'm on this council, that you'll move off of Sherwood when that facility's finished. So you need to put that back in your head and remember that. Because that's what we're spending all that money for.
I never said we wouldn't move over there. I just said.
No, you said we wouldn't do that.
That's not true. No, sir, I did not
I
say
think we all heard you in the meeting, did we not, Mr. Jones?
that. I didn't say that. No, sir.
Okay,
So basically, my point, Mr. Vasquez, with all due respect, it's gonna be difficult for soccer association, the baseball associations to have to pay what we already pay to run our associations and throw on that anywhere from 50 to 75K a year and still operate and still allow kids to play. I mean, our fees right now are $100 a kid. If the association's got to pay another $75,000 a year with the expenses that you guys are going to charge us, I haven't done the math. I don't know what where we're going to have to.
You didn't do the math, but you just already gave us a number.
No, that was just based on this, Yeah, about what it's going to.
Where's your $100 a kid go when you pick it up?
Actually, the funny thing is,
Expenses.
I did work that out, and we actually make about $5,000 to $10,000 a season. That's what our profit is per season as a 501c3. So you're gonna put another 50 to 75K, it's gotta come from somewhere. I know you guys aren't gonna subsidize it, I mean, so.
We're all subsidized. We're all taxpayers. We're all subsidized.
That's another
We're
point.
subsidized.
That's
Don't-
another
Don't say
point.
that we're not subsidized. We're
Okay,
subsidized.
but
When you don't pay, we're subsidized,
Okay, but
okay?
I'm a taxpayer too. So are my kids, so everybody else in the soccer association. So we're paying taxes.
Yep.
And you're gonna make us pay another $75,000 just to use Sherwood Park. But you're not gonna let us use Sherwood Park. You're gonna make us move everything to the east, which won't work.
Did you not announce that you're going to go with your fall season?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, so you are gonna use it?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, so don't say that we told you you're not going to. You are gonna use it and you're having your fall season. Now, you guys made that presentation as soon as we wind up getting out of that meeting within a day or two, or by the end of the week. You know,
Presentation.
The announcement that the fall season, I just wind up talking to a lot of your coaches right before this meeting, okay? And so the discussion is, they asked me, are we using Sherwood? I said, yes. Go ahead and go forward, you're going to play. He goes, okay. So they were asking a bunch of questions about can you clarify what's going on? I said, I will give you, what I know up to this point. So he said, I really haven't a meeting today. Come on over. It's open to the public. Come on over. We're gonna discuss this. And so I said, you know, the thing is that we as a council made a commitment because the request was made for y'all that y'all wanted to be involved in the discussions. So from that meeting, the legal team, Mr. Dan Jones, put this together. Okay, so that's basically, we had a hand delivered to you. So you can take a look at it.
Correct, you did.
We have all had the same time to look at this, okay? So basically, this is discussion. We're asking for you to take it back, take it to your lawyers. Let's redline this sucker. You send it back and we'll go back and forth and let's hammer out an agreement. Okay, because here's the thing is, what we wind up doing is that we need to put money back into the fields and in the maintenance of the park that the association's using. There's cost related to that. So we have to share that cost. You do too. And you're gonna have to work it into the fees or however you're gonna have to work it into. And so the thing is that we have to find a common ground, Ms. Martinez. I guess this is, as a council, is what we're asking. Let's find that middle ground, let's work together. Let's find a way to go through this policy and make it work for everybody. Where we can continue and move forward, and you can move on with your season and start working and operating. Because we have to discuss the overall park. We have to discuss everybody else using it. We have to return some of that green space. We have to work with moving and work within that defined area that you guys were gonna, you're using your words, repurpose. And let's find that common ground. I know it's there. We're adults. We can find that. So we're asking, you know, this is the first phase. Take it with you. Give it to your lawyers. Let's go back and start that negotiation and find that middle ground and common ground that works for all of us. Both of us probably not, you know, the city and the association may not get everything we want, but I know we can find a majority of what we can agree on. Does that sound fair?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay.
If it's gonna be a true negotiation, a give and take, yes, we can make it, we can work it out.
Basically, please take this with you. Give it to your lawyers. You sit down, start redlining this, send it back, and let's start that conversation. Because we're not gonna solve it in the next,
No, sir.
8 minutes.
No, sir.
So let's just do that. And then send it back to us. The sooner you guys get on it, the sooner we can get through it and get to the end process. That way we can move forward. Because we're gonna have to make an assessment of all our infrastructure. We're gonna have to make an assessment of the buildings, the infrastructure, what's out there. And so we're gonna have to straighten all that stuff that's working internally within the city that, you know, we found that was problematic on our side. And we need to fix that ourselves. And so, so basically, I think that's where we're at right now.
I think so,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Will that work?
Yes, sir.
Council, will that work?
Fine.
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and just start that process and we'll go forward. Thank you, I really appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and move on to item 10. Mr. Ricci, come up here, discuss the request for renewal of yearly service agreement with Motorola. Hey, next time when we have these items, let's just pop these guys up in front. Because I saw him fall asleep about 2 or 3 times. You didn't
Don't
hear
tell
that,
Chief Cotton that.
You didn't hear that.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. So Odessa Fire is requesting to renew our service contract with Motorola, Mock Alert. This is the system that we use to notify our firefighters when we get a call. So we've been working with we've been working with IT to figure out who's gonna pay for it. It is gonna come out of IT's budget.
Man, how'd you negotiate that?
Mr. Flores is very nice.
Dang.
He wasn't under threat, was he?
Did you tell the guys that was their bonus money for Christmas?
No, I don't know if it's coming directly out of their budget, but yes. So the total for that is $76,234.76. if y'all have any questions about what Mock Alert is, I'm
I like
happy
how-
to answer them.
I like how you threw a life vest out to him on that one. That's right.
How long have you had the, as far as you know, how long have you had the contract with this company?
So Mock Alert is brand new to us.
okay.
We've had it for a year. I think this is our first contract agreement or contract renewal with them.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
You've been pretty impressed with the system.
Oh, yes. The benefits
Yeah.
to the health of firefighters, everything is amazing. I sit here for hours and talk about it, but
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, we have a consensus moving forward to add this onto the agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much.
We're gonna move on to item 11. Discuss parks budget request.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
I gave all of you the page that we talked about in the budget retreat. Basically, what I just need to know is what is approved and what is not, and that is the number that I will update for the budget line item for parks.
Well, this is all supplemental, so this is all extra money, right?
This is the one-time expenditures that the Parks Department had requested during our budget meetings this season.
I'll shoot out first. That 48 50-inch phrase mower? No, because we're not doing the Spriggan. We all agreed on that.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so let's go item by item like this. Mr. Reyes, you want to come up here? Say, I'd go ahead and take a seat for a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so real quick, rebuilding the pavilions, Jim Parker and Optimus Park, 2 park locations. This is the amount, total amount for 60,000 for all, what would be what, 3?
2,
2? Okay,
roughly 30,000 per pavilion.
that's a lot. This
It
is
is.
existing or brand new?
Existing, right now, they're currently all wood, and we're going back to a metal fixture, or not going back, but building a metal fixture.
Okay.
We recently did one, and it was 32,000.
So the buildings are all metal,
Yes, sir.
and right now they're wood? I haven't looked at one.
They're, most of them are wood,
Really?
and they just need to replace, they're deteriorating.
No, yeah. The metal will last a lot.
Yes, sir, and splinters, I mean,
Roofs
some
as
of them,
well?
they're in bad shape. Splinters if, if you're playing around them, so we're just looking for somebody to get hurt.
Optimus Park, is that the one where it got vandalized?
Yes, sir.
Turkey.
Yeah, and Jim Parker is the one that's off of, Bonham?
Yes.
Okay, so then replace safety material playground at Sherwood. What are we talking, 270,000, that's a huge number. What are we talking about in safety material playground?
That's gonna vary. I actually took it off of here right now. I redlined it out. I was there the other day and we do have to do some maintenance on it, but the 270 is probably to replace the entire play surface. Again, I don't know where these numbers came from, so I can redo my own and
Okay.
see.
I would like to see that. I mean, because the thing is, this is very general. Safety materials at playground at Sherwood. So I don't know what that means. What safety materials? Are we talking about the sand?
Actually, we don't use sand anymore. It's that play structure that's kind of like, it's got
Oh,
the
that
rubberized trampoline effect, so
Yeah,
to speak.
How old is that? You haven't, well, you wouldn't know, would you?
I don't know that.
Okay.
But that's basically what everybody is using nowadays and has been for the last several years.
So, and then Murray Flood, so we thought this was out in the county, but it's on Boulder.
It's right inside the
Yeah.
city limits.
So, surface replacement, existing service center, Murphy Flat Playground is worn and needed. That's not that old. I remember when they
What's
replaced it.
happening, Mayor, is that some of them have been vandalized and they're they're adding fire to them. And so it's kind of melting the platform away. So it's either gonna be a replacement or possibly,
Okay.
cutting it out and adding a section back
So
to it.
These are kind of guesstimated. We haven't really gotten in to
Correct.
find out. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's been one of my plans is to go to each
to
line
each one.
item
And
and
look at it.
physically look for myself.
The McKinney is get rid of the pea gravel. So it was originally built with pea gravel. Has there been some safety issues about that? Or you don't know?
Well, yeah.
Because it's all pea gravel in the playground.
Right, so what's happening there is a lot of this, material is getting into the spray park. It's not too far away. And plus, it's blowing away with just being right there by the highway, and there's no, wind barriers.
Okay. Now, this is a big one. Convert tennis court to futsal, did I say it right?
Yep.
Yes.
Court at McKinney Park. The hell is futsal?
Futsal is playing soccer with the smaller ball on a tennis court.
Is there a big?
It's a.
It's growing.
Did you put in this request over there at McKinney Park? Is there a big need for futsal park?
It is a growing sport, kind of like pickleball is. I've seen tons of videos on it. It will cause injuries. You're gonna have to resurface.
It's a hard surface.
You're gonna have to resurface all the tennis courts.
No. That's a big no for me right there.
Councilman Mata, how do you feel about that?
Well, most futsal's played like on an indoor basketball court.
Correct,
We can wait for the complex to come in there.
correct.
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these things, this money can.
And I think that was the
complex.
mentality
Yeah.
with some of the
Yeah.
tennis courts that we're not using to convert them to futsal. But you're gonna have to put the new finish on there.
Would it be more cost effective? That way we can use the tennis courts and get more use out of them, change them into a pickleball court
Yes,
instead?
yeah, because basically all you do is lower the net.
It's just a smaller court, just reline it. Like
You could
that.
reline it, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Lower
In
net,
this
lower
case, you're
net.
gonna basically have
Strapping
to,
machine.
Robotic.
A robotic
you're,
machine.
you're gonna really have to resurface a tennis court in order to get the traction. But there's gonna be a lot of slips and falls. If the surface isn't leveled, you're gonna have turn ankles. It is basically soccer on a tennis court, that's all it is.
I played hockey on tennis courts,
Yes, sir.
street ball.
I'm sorry.
I don't remember ever falling and getting hurt on this deal. So I don't know. I'm sorry, but
But
we just took the net down and we played, so
Yes, sir.
But you're from a different generation.
I know we played. We had
We all
on,
have
and we wore
had
Converse,
plans,
which were
yeah.
flat.
We did.
They're not Nikes, they were Converse.
The-
We didn't
I
test.
mean, can we just see how much less expensive it would be
I
to
would-
convert it to a pickleball? than
Yeah, I
over
would-
futsal? I mean, I like futsal, but just cause I'm just trying to think of,
Well, pickleball's the hotter sport.
just trying to think of more.
Unless we
cost-effective
go that route and do the conversion of both. And depending on who uses it, will depend on whether or not that particular, netting is up or off at that particular time. But you're gonna have to redesign that whole little section with different stripings.
The thing is we also remember, we're also gonna wind up losing substantial amount of real estate over there in McKinney, you know.
With the
so-
expansion of the service road?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the highway, and what's that gonna mean? Because we're gonna endure some costs, you know, we're gonna have to move utilities, because this is where we have the,
It's gonna back up to the spray park as well. We'll have
Yeah.
to figure out what we're gonna do there.
and we have to address the spray park. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
That to me is a more pressing need.
Correct.
The pond, that's at, golf course?
The pond there is actually
leaking.
at Comanche, across,
Oh,
south.
Yes, Comanche.
The fishing league.
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one there is actually, it's, from what I've been told, has had a tear for quite some time.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
On the south side of the interstate.
yeah.
That liner has been torn for quite a some time, and
Have you gone out and found bids for this?
I'm fixed to, no,
Okay.
sir, I haven't.
So,
So 500,000.
No,
yeah, so.
Somebody pulled it out
no,
of the.
I used to do that, and
So
that's not gonna be
that's a
500.
priority.
Yes,
Because
sir.
that has, that's almost pretty much year-round look, and then we have that big fishing deal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the parking at McKinney, I know I've asked
So
for
what are we
that
gonna
several
do with
times,
all
I
the
asked for them.
hold What are
Yeah,
you
that
gonna do
needs-
with
that
all the
needs to be
fish
done.
and all of this stuff
I've asked
during
the foundation to
the
do it, they won't do
relining
it.
of this pond?
We're either gonna have to, we're gonna have to drain the pond in order for them to replace everything, and hopefully we're gonna stock the fish in some kind of tank or somewhere. We're gonna have to find somewhere.
Well, let's go find a cost estimate, get,
Yeah, I
narrow
will.
that sucker down.
I will.
And then,
He was asking about the fish that's in there currently. I know that
That
we
fish
stock it
in
a
there
couple times a
currently, what are you
year.
gonna do with them? You just can't just drain the lake and let them flop out there.
I mean,
We're gonna put them
no,
somewhere.
no limit catch.
Yeah. I
have
think
a
we,
fishing event.
We're gonna have a lot of fishing left between now and
that's
then.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, you don't have enough, keep casting.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's gonna be your heading.
Yes, sir.
Parking lot at McKinney. Any ideas on what to do there?
The current parking lot is gravel. I wanted to reach out to streets to see if there was any kind of help that they could help us out with there to keep it in-house. Today, it's fairly, flat. I mean, there's obviously some loose asphalt there, but I mean, I don't know if we need to just go in and spray it. And maybe that's gonna keep everything down once it comes together.
Well, we really need to make that into a parking lot. But the
Yes.
thing is that it would be utilized when we end up having events there, like we have the fall festival and then we have the
Correct.
Starbright Village.
Starbright
Correct.
Village.
And that's what we're gonna try to focus our parking for this year, because I know that last year they had some shuttles come in to help with the transportation.
Yeah, it's.
But like
it's-
everything else, that
it's
comes with the
become-
price.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the event keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yes, sir.
And so, traffic and everything is just.
Lots of mess.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that, you know, I'm not down there in the evenings, but I don't know if it's even being utilized for baseball anymore. I know there's not a league. And so, once again, is there gonna be a repurpose for the park? But the thing is, we have to do something. I know I've asked for a foundation, but their focus is just playground.
Playgrounds.
So see what we can do, if we can find supplemental from projects that we've gone under. We've had a lot of paving projects. You know, we're looking at